Ladies and gentlemen, we have an emergency announcement. That's right. I'm going to ask you to hold your OP13 sealed product closely and prepare yourself for what I'm about to tell you. Bandai is going to be reprinting this set. Oh my god. And they're going to be reprinting the Heroine set. This is a disaster. This is an absolute disaster. Psych, it's great. It's good news, and I'm going to talk about why it's good news, guys. So many people are panicking right now. But to be quite honest with you, I think the only people truly not having a good day are the people who have scalped the hell out of the Heroines box and, of course, OP13. Those people are definitely not having a good day. But guys, you know, it's pretty interesting that Bandai has come out and officially said that, hey, you know, we're going to reprint some of these sets because the demand is crazy. And let's actually just take a look at what they said here. So reprints for OP13 and EBO3. We are currently moving forward with reprinting OP13 and EBO3 with distribution expected to begin around June. For this wave, prior allocations will be given to Bandai TCG stores that consistently support organized play. Please be aware that delivery times may vary by region. Retailers are encouraged to contact their distributors for details. So off the bat, it seems like the only places that are even going to have access to this next wave of reprints will be the Bandai stores. Now, that probably won't be the case. Things will probably be allocated here and there. But guys, you know, first of all, I just have to say, you know, I was definitely a little surprised that they were going to be doing this. It is interesting to see that Bandai decided to start reprinting OP13. Now, OP13, as we know, is a massive set filled with probably some of the most expensive cards in One Piece history. I mean, it isn't probably, it's true. I mean, look at the prices of these cards right now. We've got the red manga drop Luffy selling for $9,000 USD average, okay? And of course, you know, the other two as well are really expensive, around 5,000 USD. These are expensive cards. Then we've got the regular manga cards as well that are, you know, hovering around $3,000-$4,000. There's just so much in this set. But the truth is, guys, I don't think it's the end of the world. I do think that we're going to be fine. You know, and the thing we need to remember is that they're only reprinting 2 sets, and one of those sets is just the upcoming set EBO3. Now, what's interesting about them reprinting EBO3 is just the fact that, you know, EB sets, they traditionally have lower print runs, so it is kind of interesting to see that for, like, the first time, it seems like Bandai's going to be ramping up production for this set. But, you know, in all honesty, guys, I do think this is good for the overall community. I think the thing that we need to remember, and people who do this for a living, we got to remember, guys, that, you know, we cannot be greedy and push out the player base from a card game. Why on earth would anybody play this card game anymore if nobody could get product or afford product? It's a balancing act, you know, like on the one hand, yes, Bandai is aware of their secondary market, and I think they've been sitting on a gold mine this whole time, and they're playing their cards correctly, which I think is smart. I do, again, think it's interesting how they're reprinting OP13. That was definitely not something I had on the radar, but, you know, here's another thing we need to realize, guys. OP13 is a fairly new set still. The thing is, too, is they're not going to be reprinting any other sets. So, for people sitting on a ton of sealed product, I do think we need to keep in mind that the One Piece TCG market is not about to be set ablaze by Bandai, and, you know, I think a lot of these sets are still good to go, or still safe to hold long term. And another thing to keep in mind, guys, with the OP13 set is that only in Wave 1 do we have the pre-errata Ace, which of course is a highly sought after card. So it's not all doom and gloom, but no, seriously, guys, I think overall Bandai did need to do this. I think the fatigue that we've been seeing in the One Piece market was definitely because of, you know, the lack of products, which has always been an issue for this card game, even before it started getting popular. And of course, the prices, right? I mean, like, I'm sure you've been going into your local card stores, seeing that OP11's, like, each pack's like $20, I mean, $26 Canadian, like $15 average for a pack now. I mean, this is just taking me back to the Pokemon days when things were really bad last year. But, no, I do really think this is good overall, guys. And, you know, although it will probably dilute the value of some of these cards in the short term, and, of course, the set as well, I do think the Wave 1 argument still stands. I do think that that's something to consider. And not to mention, guys, the pull rates for these top chase cards are astronomically ridiculous. I mean, to pull, like, one of these cards, it's like 0.1%, even less than that for like a case. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And a case itself, was like, what? How much was a case, actually? Yeah, a case of this was going for, wow, that's crazy. Going for between $7,000 and $8,000 US, which is just insane, man. Insane. Look at that big price drop, too, for an unopened in one day. Look at that. We see $1,000 price drop, so that's pretty interesting. Now, we've had reprint situations happen before. You know, we had it in Magic for Final Fantasy recently. We've had it happen with a lot of sets in Pokemon, especially Phantasmal Flames, which I like to use as an example for what happens when you overprint and you've got too much out there in the public. So, Phantasmal Flames, they printed this set to the ground, and, you know, it was actually really fascinating to see, you know, such a cool-looking set with Charizard on it, which is, like, a big deal. Pokemon sets where, like, they have the most popular Pokemon, like Mewtwo, Gengar, you know, Eevees, Pikachus, all that sort of stuff, you would think would do really well, but as you could see, you know, the set bombed, and the print runs were ridiculously high, and also the pull rates were ridiculously high, because people were pulling some of the top chase cards in these sets. I was actually talking to quite a few people who said that they were actually over to their friend's house. There was about 8 of them. They all had 2 boxes each, and they were just opening their packs, and 3 or 4 of them pulled this Mega Charizard. Now, maybe that's just pure luck, but I have been hearing a lot of people pulling these cards. So, you know, print runs are a balancing act. I think Bandai does need to be careful with what they're doing. I do think that overall it's a good thing, especially for the Heroine set, because, like, you know, nobody wanted to see this set go up to $500, $600, $700. Nobody wanted that. And the other thing, too, is that the craziness behind OP13 was just insane, right? I mean, nobody could really get product for this thing. Everybody knew this was going to be a big set, and I remember in the summer making videos, you know, warning everybody. I was like, guys, this is probably going to be the craziest, like, set from One Piece ever, and it kind of was. So, you know, overall, I think that there's nothing wrong with holding on to your sealed product, especially if you have Wave 1 of OP13. You need to remember that the pre-errata argument it still stands. It's just like Romance Dawn. There's the blue and white bottom. You know, their waves do kind of impact price, of course, long term. And this Heroine set, which comes out in 8 days, I mean, like, this is just going to be good for most people overall. I mean, even I was worried for getting product. You know, I really wanted to buy some of these and open for the channel, and I was like, man, I don't want to spend $600-$700 for some of these as well. You know, like, we just have to remember, guys, that no matter how much we want to invest in TCG cards, we want to hold on to sealed product. And I do think sealed product is probably one of the smartest plays in general, because you really can't lose in that situation. I do think long term this is going to be good for everybody. But the other question we need to remember too is, as we move forward, will we see Bandai have larger print runs for the upcoming sets? Now, none of us have any idea of that, but depending on the demand and popularity, which could be high, and this could be a precursor for that as well, we may see more waves for upcoming sets like OP15, OP16, OP17, especially considering the crazy demand for One Piece that has been occurring over the last couple of months in general. So definitely a lot of things to speculate on, definitely a lot of things to consider, but guys, at the end of the day, I think our shiny cardboard is going to do okay, and like, we gotta have a long-term outlook on these things. Imagine holding on to OP13, a case or a couple boxes or whatever, for like 5 to 10 years. You know, like, the longevity of the One Piece TCG is a really interesting thing to consider, right? Because as long as the story continues, and even a couple of years afterwards, I think One Piece's IP will be very strong. And especially as we approach the end, I think things are just going to get really crazy. One Piece's IP is just phenomenally strong. I think the older the sets become, the more valuable they're going to be. So overall, guys, you know, I wouldn't be stressed too much about this print run set. I think there was just a lot of people who were missing out. And, you know, Bandai does need to control the market a little bbit, especially when things get out of control. We don't want people that no longer want to participate in this market, because if people start stepping away, a lot of people, you know, aren't going to be buying product. People are going to struggle. Prices will ultimately come down. So that's my thoughts about the whole reprint set. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, guys. And a video should pop on the screen. Be sure to click it, and I will see you over there.